You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box.
Just with the main event, let alone that fight could happen anytime, anywhere, any place, and you'll have me as a fan watching. I mean, this is easily probably one of the most exciting, just off of the action that's going to happen, fights that you can make in UFC, because there's just no way. I would seriously bet my house that there's no way this is going to be not exciting, right? I mean, that's just it's one of them fucking bangers, man.
It's one of those main event co-main. There's been often times where we have a co-main event that's a flyweight title fight or a women's title fight that you're going to see a Valentina or Figueiredo or Demetrius Johnson or Amanda Nunes, but maybe the opponent isn't that great, or maybe the matchup's not that great stylistically. But man, it's really hard to be a main event co-main duo like Dustin Justin 2 and then Jan Blachowicz Alex Pereira. That's gonna be tough to beat. You know what I mean? When it comes to excitedness, just violence, really. I mean, you got Dustin and Justin at 155, and you got Jan and Alex at 205. Very different sized people, but there's going to be blood regardless. We have a rematch in the main event. I think it was about 5 years ago. I guess we should just get on right into it. Yeah, they both fought, five and a half years ago. They're both 34. They both have lost recently. I think they're both 1-1 in the last two. They both lost to Charles.
Yeah.
So it's hard to take that much away. Dustin went to, I believe, the third with Charles.
Yes.
But if you're not on his level as a grappler, which nobody really is, he's going to get you out of there. So I don't hold that against either of them. This is at elevation, which I don't love as a whole for the card. I mean, you're going to see, you're going to see Derek Lewis and Claudio Ribeiro at elevation. It's going to be there's going to be a lot of gassing.
A lot of gassing out on this card for sure.
Kevin Holland, a lot of stunt pullers. So Priscilla Cachoeira, she goes past one round, she's cooked. So I don't love that.
That's at any elevation, by the way. That's not even with the whole Salt Lake City element involved.
Funny enough, I have seen a lot of people training in the mountains and training at elevation. I think Michel Pereira has been running. He was running with the Army. They were doing a bunch of crazy shit. I think I don't know if it was. I have it somewhere written down. I think it was Salvador, a guy who has always been a gasser. Pretty much, he's first rounder bust. He's been training in the mountains, so I don't know where exactly, but either way, I mean, it seems like everybody's prepping well for this. I mean, we'll see if anybody misses weight. I think we've had a couple events in a row where not really many people, it seems like not many people have been missing weight lately in the UFC. I don't know if anybody's talking about that. I've noticed it.
There's only been one or two in the last month or so that I think maybe
awesome.
One that had to pull out. I forget which fighter that was or what card it was, but there was somebody that had to pull out. But yeah, you're right. Other than that, it's been kind of a clean sort of bill of health, you would say.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, this card starts at 6:30. That's not bad. I mean, the first fight is Priscilla Cachoeira Miranda Maverick. Thank God, right? So we all get to reset our clocks to 7, pretty much when the card starts.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean,
we might as well just get right into it. I was going to say we might as well start right at the top. Dustin Poirier, like you said, Justin Gaethje, two highly ranked guys in the UFC. You'd say probably the winner of this gets the next title shot. I mean, that's definitely there's an argument to be had there. It's going to be Charles and Islam next, and then after that, it's these two. It's number 2 Dustin Poirier and number 3 Justin Gaethje. So, what do the odds tell you? We have Poirier is not a big favorite, but somewhat considerable at minus 160, 155, 150 on some of these books to Justin Gaethje's plus 125, pretty much across the board. So, excuse me, I don't know really. My instinct lean is Dustin Poirier, but that fight, that first one was very close. And although Gaethje wound up getting finished, it's because he got hit with an absolute nuke. Towards the later end, he had taken a lot of damage leading up to that. Both had. I mean, Poirier was hurt at multiple times during that fight. If you have not watched that fight, you should go back and watch it. It was during my early days of being a hardcore fan, it was one of the things where I'm just like, wow, like this is why. Now I get why people love this shit, because it's, from the outside looking in, you don't really, at that time, nobody really knew who, a Dustin Poirier or a Justin Gaethje is. The mainstream,
that was a fight night.
Exactly, and that's a fight night, and you're getting a banger like that. Yeah.
The feature bout was Izzy and Vettori.
Exactly.
Like, you had Alex Oliveira and Carlos Condit ahead of Izzy and Vettori 1. Big card. I mean, you had your cool hand Luke Sanderses of the world and Patrick Williams. I think that's Chicago Bulls forward.
Different guy.
Gilbert Burns was buried on the prelim. So, yeah, I mean, this was so long ago, but also I feel like, sometimes when you see guys run it back in the UFC or in boxing, not boxing's immediate rematches most of the time, but in MMA, when you see them running back, it's like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years after the first fight. You're like, I don't know what I'm getting. One of these fighters is cooked, one of them isn't. One of them has been through this, one of them hasn't. So this is kind of fresh-ish, right? I don't think neither of them are watched yet. I think this is a huge fight for both of them. I mean, this could be like a legacy fight. It could be a career-defining fight. They're both, I guess if you lose, you're pretty much fucked. I'm not necessarily fucked. Like, you don't get pushed to the very back, but you definitely have to wait a little bit. You know what I mean? You definitely are going to have to fight a Fiziev Gamrot winner.
You might not get that title shot, though, by the time all this is said.
Yeah, it might be done.
Yeah.
And you win, you're right there. You call the shots. Both guys can pretty much do what they want. They've avoided fighting, the Fizievs and the Sarukians. Well, I think Justin did fight Fiziev, so
yeah.
But some of them have been, kind of just been sitting around. Dustin does it a lot. He's just been sitting around waiting, calling his shots, because you kind of can after a certain amount of years. So
beat Conor McGregor twice, so you can pretty much do whatever you want after that.
So this is big, man. This is really big, and I don't know if either guy has really separated themselves over the last 5.5 years. I think this is just two of the best lightweights ever. I mean, Gaethje has the highest striking accuracy in lightweight history. I think Dustin has the most knockdowns and knockouts in lightweight history, the most fight of the nights in UFC history. And the first fight was good, man. He was winning the first fight, I think, kind of easily the first 2 rounds, and then he got rocked in the third, and then he finished him off in the beginning of the fourth. Made Justin do the stanky leg.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you look at the volume, if you look at the output of both guys in that fight, it was like, I think it was like 174 to 115 for Dustin. I mean, that's just an insane amount of volume. I mean, they're throwing 100 strikes each round. They're landing 40, 50 strikes each round. Pretty good percentage, too, around 50% each way. It was Dustin that was shooting for takedowns in the first fight. He couldn't get them. And Justin was chipping away at his legs. Something he's going to do again. They both have good low kicks. They both mirror each other in some ways. They're both dogs. They both have good chins, but they both get hit a little bit. I think, obviously, Justin gets hit much more than Dustin. Dustin, I think, has probably some of the best all-around boxing in the UFC. I don't think...
We've said that, for a while now.
Definitely up there. And Justin, Justin in his later years has become much more tame. He's not as wild. He likes to sit back and kind of counterpunch or, just wait. So he's not a wild man as he once was, when he fought James Vick, which worked for him, right? When he fought Vick, Barbosa, Cowboy. Just look at the Tony Ferguson fight. It took him forever to get a finish, and that, Tony didn't even go down. So, yeah, this is going to be a close fight, man. I don't know. I think Justin's bigger, but he's not as long as Dustin, so I think that's going to play a factor. I got Dustin to win. Maybe late stoppage, maybe a war of a decision. It's kind of hard for me to really. There's a lot of variables in this fight. I could see Dustin Poirier getting a takedown too in this fight. I just don't think that's going to be a big strategy on either side. So, if it's going to be a war for 25 minutes or less, yeah, I don't know. I think Dustin should get it done. I think he's got the better boxing, the better chin. I don't know if he has more power, but he definitely can string together a lot of power. Better defensively. I think he's smarter. I know Justin trains at elevation, but I don't think that's going to be a problem for Dustin Poirier. I don't think that's somebody who's going to just gas out after 1 or 2 rounds. He's a consummate professional, one of the best fighters, one of the best lightweights ever. So it's going to be a war, man. It could go either way. I'm not going to bet on it strictly because of that, and I kind of want to just sit back and watch the main event as a fan. I'm going to take Dustin Poirier like 4th or 5th round knockout.
Yeah, I could see that too. Like this fight is about as evenly matched as you could write down on paper. It's just a razor thin sort of thing. I mean, and obviously Dustin Poirier has that upper hand in the sense that he won. They already fought and he won that first one. I just a lot of time has passed since then. Like you said, they're both somewhat different fighters. I think Poirier is more similar to that back then than he is. I mean, he hasn't really changed his game that much. He's just kind of gotten better, right? I would say. But like you said, Gaethje's kind of chilled out a little bit, more of a trying to use his IQ, and you saw that in the Fiziev fight where maybe he was fighting a guy who was quicker than him and maybe had more technical skill, but he was just popping that jab out there, and just kind of doing what he needed to do, fire them leg kicks, and just I could see a lot of that happening in this fight. I really do worry about this elevation being a factor. I know, not necessarily in this fight, but I just think, like we kind of talked about throughout the card, it's just something that you have to keep your eye on. And I'm going to try and stay away from a lot of these inside the distance bets because they kind of have been burning me these last couple weeks. And I feel like, they're in front of people. It's going to be like, I never know, man. I really just never know. Yeah. And a couple of these fighters I had last week who I could have had wins, I took inside the distance when I could have, I don't know, maybe taken something else or maybe parlayed it with something else, instead of just trying for the inside the distance and going for the plus money the whole time. And I think Poirier is within reach. I don't really like, I'm kind of with you. If I was going to bet, these are two bets, I like Gaethje. I really do like Gaethje in this fight. Just based off the fact that I think he's just going to be able to, I think this is going to be a case where these guys respect each other a lot, and it's going to be exciting, but it's not. I don't think there's no way they could live up to that output and hype that they had in that first one. So I think it's going to be much more of an older guys fighting where there's like high-level chess being played, and we kind of, you'll have Rogan in here trying to explain how, this guy's, they're going back and forth, and they're this and that, and then DC will be like, oh, watch a takedown, and then we'll be like, oh, man, like, we've had to listen to 17 fights of this, but the bet I really like, and I think I'm going to take it and just be upset when someone gets finished, fight to go to decision is plus 180. And
interesting.
I just think that, I think this is going to be, this fight was very close to going to decision the first time. And I think it's going to be a different fight this time, and I don't really like this bet, and I think I might regret it, but I'm just going to take it. Fight to go to distance. Plus 180.
All right. We do have a Rogan DC Anik combo for this card. Chael Sonnen is back to the desk with Anthony Smith, Michael Eaves, and Dean Thomas. That's a pretty good staff. Sonnen, Anthony Smith, Dean Thomas, and then you have, of course, our girl Megan O'Leary. Can't have the hardcore conservative Charlie Arnault or Arnold, whatever her name is. Can't have her back in there.
Having a rough go at it, yeah.
I was wondering if you saw the same thing I saw.
Where she was talking about Bronny having a heart attack? Is that what the deal was?
Yeah, she was like, I think we all know what that means. I'm like, oh.
Well, anyway. Then Chael started talking about how people have heart attacks when they're doing EPO. I'm like, oh, man, guys. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? As I sit here, though, I'm kind of disgusted that I just wrote that down on the paper, and I'm reserving the judgment till the end to change my mind. So you people, there's your little tidbit of information, Easter egg, to make sure that you listen towards the end. And that just feels disgusting because but I don't know who's gonna win. That's where I'm kind of with you. Like I want to stay away, but I also want to bet something, and I just think when I saw that, I was like, that's my number one.
I could see it happen. It almost happened in the last fight, but Justin started doing the stanky leg right in the fourth. You never know if he would have not got hit with that exact shot. Maybe it goes on much longer. Who knows?
His corner was also telling him in that fight, don't worry about the cards. Go out and finish this guy. So
yeah, they're both at a different point in their career. In their 30s, this is kind of do or die in a way. They're both smarter. They're both, this might be their peak. Honestly, both of them, which sounds a little crazy. Maybe they're not as athletically gifted or as quick, but I don't know, man. This is just it's going to be a banger. I cannot wait. I really hope they time it right. That we don't have Spence Crawford at the same time as this. It's kind of hard to avoid, I guess. And this starts at 6:30. There's only 12 fights on the card. Maybe one of them maybe Priscilla Cachoeira catches a cough and she has to pull out, and I don't know. It would be nice if this card ended before midnight, but that's obviously probably not going to happen. So,
yeah. And do you care about it being for the BMF at all?
I mean,
it adds a little like spice to it, but like, so what, really?
It works with the UFC fans because UFC fans, MMA fans in general, they love little gimmicks, right? You have The Rock come out here and put the belt around Masvidal's waist. They don't care about Dana White saying, this is a one-off, this is never going to happen again. We don't do gimmick fights, which is so funny considering Mike Jackson was in the UFC. But also they were going to have Joe Rogan fight Wesley Snipes, so,
Yeah, and now Mark Zuckerberg's going to fight Elon Musk. So,
talk about not doing gimmick fights, but MMA fans don't care about that. They see Masvidal come out, they're going to be, wired up, and then he's going to put the vacant belt around the winner's waist, and then Masvidal and Askren, they're going to run it back. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, we'll see if that actually happens. But I really am truly excited for the main event. That's and now what we're going to talk about and the co-main event.
You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box.